Who's ready to win the day in sports? I know you are. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com, Monday through Friday, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Justin Fensterman, and let's break everything down from a fantasy sports perspective. What's going on, everybody? My name is Justin Fensterman, and I am pissed off today. It is a Fantasy Sports Daily here on the Elite Plus Network, but I'm not in a good mood today. And if you are part of FantasyGuru.com, you're going to know why. And that's when you look into these eyes, you know the real is here for you. Because last night, I'm sitting there and I'm watching this NBA Cup final between the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. And we at FantasyGuru.com had one bet there. One bet. Been sticking in the rebound props lately. But instead, I went with a point prop. I did some research where I could connect the dots just like we all did in the coloring books when we were kids. Coloring outside the lines, inside the lines, doesn't matter. The dots, they get connected from the research. The research, the data, it brings me to these bets. I don't just be like, oh, let's sit there. Oh, I have to get bets. And no, if I don't like bets, and I'm not yelling at anybody, I'm not mad at anybody, I'm just mad at this situation because I don't like to lose. I can't stand losing. And when you're a content provider, whether in fantasy sports or sports wagering, you're going to lose. You're going to get heat sometimes, but you're going to lose. Things aren't going to work out. But when you have a direct line to a prop, a lower prop, where you feel like you could beat the books, and it's looking great, we had the worst beat in basketball this year at FantasyGuru.com. And it's, Fensty, turn the page and everything. Let's go to the next day. Absolutely. Going to go to the next day. I'm not afraid of any of this. But at the same time, just so frustrating. What was the prop? Devin Vassell. Here's the thing with the Knicks. Knicks play very good defense, but the Knicks give up a lot of threes. This is something we're going to have to remember a little bit moving forward because the Knicks giving up threes, and in a game like this, when you have Victor Wembanyama, who's going to be playing, which he did in the semifinal against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and did well off the bench with the minutes given, knowing he was not going to be playing full minutes once again, knowing that the Knicks give up a lot of threes, knowing that the Knicks give up a lot of points to guards and guard forwards for that matter, I went and I looked at the point props. Darren Fox was at 20.5. Stephon Castle's at about 17.5, 18.5, depending on the book. Oh, look. At first, I found him plus money, Devin Vassell at 13.5. But then, and this is what's good, and this is where we can start, and then we'll get into some football, and I know that I'm starting off hot right here. But I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. I almost wanted to start this an hour early because I couldn't wait anymore because I'm a rabid dog when it comes to betting. That's why. That's what you get when you ride with the Elite Mafia. I don't like to lose. And I especially don't like to lose when our guy, Devin Vassell, who, by the way, let me finish this, I found the alt at 12.5 at minus 125 on FanDuel. Okay, I'll bet the over on that. That's why you got to look sometimes. Sometimes where you see things on certain sites, if you go to the alts, all of a sudden you find that there's a sneaky good odds there that they're trying to hide from you. We uncovered that last night. So what happened? Okay, Devin Vassell moseying along, starting the game hot. By halftime, he had 12 points. He was shooting at about 50%, maybe a little bit less at the time. And I was thinking that a few of those points were going to come with threes. But at the same time, the second half begins ice cold. Missed about 8 shots the entire second half. I couldn't even believe it. I thought I was seeing double. I nearly had to leave the game because I was so upset. Because I want to hit that bet. He doesn't score a single point the entire second half. How that happens, I don't know. Worst beat ever. We get hooked. We were there at halftime. It's funny because the other night I had Asar Thompson over 5.5 rebounds. First quarter, 0 rebounds. Second quarter, 0 rebounds. Third quarter, 6 rebounds. He actually had a 7th that got taken away. Fourth quarter, 0 rebounds once again. So we end up hitting it there. So while the gods give us a gift, they take it away from us the next night because of Devin Vassell. And I'm frustrated, but that's where we learn right there. We can learn that when attacking good defenses, there is some holes that we can find. There's got to be an angle. We found that angle with the Knicks. They give up a lot of threes. And that's something moving forward. And a few of you were asking me in Discord at Fensty, Fensty, in Discord at Fensty Sports, Fensty Sports on X and Instagram. I'm always riding when it comes to the NBA. I'm always trying to get us that chance to win. And I don't force bets out there. I'm not going to put 15 bets out there just to feed you, because then what bets? I mean, you're going to put money on all 15 bets? No, Jeff Mans talks about it on the Elite Sports Show all the time on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, channel 87 on the dial. Responsible gambling. That's what we're about here. That's what we're about. And I see some of you, and Jeff was actually talking about this on the show yesterday, and I can relate. I mean, sometimes you guys parlay all my picks, and when you win, that's great. But if you lose, that's on you, because those bets out there are single bets. Just like if Jeff puts a touchdown bet out there, you're going, I'm betting 2 touchdowns. That's on you if you lose. But when it comes to something like Vassell last night, easily the worst beat in basketball of the year, getting hooked on that. And it's been a pretty cold last 9 days. We're coming off a good Monday. But man, when that happens, trust me, that's why when you join us at fantasyguru.com, you get everything we got, not just from me, but from all of our analysts. We all feel this way. I can't help it. My emotions, I wear them on my sleeve. And I was so frustrated. I could barely go to bed. I had to calm down. And that's one thing. Yeah, I know I'm not always going to be right. But at the same time, just that I'm thinking we're getting back into it. When we have these short slate nights, let me tell you guys what happens. And we could talk about it with other sports, but definitely I've noticed it in basketball too. I'll have to ask our hockey guys, Jorge Pucks, Ryan Clifford at fantasyguru.com, T-Rod putting in bets, Tyler Rod Reid. And that's why, by the way, if you sign up at fantasyguru.com, and let me bring this up for all of you right here for you to see, you look at the bottom of this document, you see it right here. You go in on the MVP plan, you get everything we have to offer. Not football, not baseball, but all of our other sports. You get it for a nice, mini low cost of $60 per month. Give it a try for a month. Basketball, hockey, we're always putting in bets out there. I got bets in there about 6 days a week. You want to go for the year? $200. That's everything we have to offer. Racing, MMA, college sports. Ted Schuster putting in college basketball bets. And I'm waiting, by the way, Ted, for my American University Eagles, Marty Collins's son, to be put in one of those bets at some point. Ted always gets in one AU bet, my alma mater, American University. But to get involved, and the reason why you're feeling the intensity from me right now is because I care. Because I want us to win. This isn't a me versus you. This is I want everybody to win. Whether you hear me on the radio, whether you follow me at Fensty Sports, whether you find all my work at fantasyguru.com, trust me, I want to go undefeated. And I hold myself to a high standard. So trust me, I get mad at myself too when it comes to that. But that beat last night just crushed me. And the funniest thing of it all is I was talking to some people, they're like, Fensty, you wouldn't even think about it, but you're a Knicks fan, and the Knicks win the cup, and it's so great. Let me tell you something. I grew up on Long Island, New York, and I have been on this earth for nearly 39 years. I don't like to talk about who I root for generally, because I cover all the teams. National guy, I cover all the teams. I have no bias, never did, especially when it comes to fantasy sports and betting. You can't do these things with your heart. That's how you lose all your money. That's how you never win. That's why when I talk about people are like, oh, I'm a Yankees fan, but I'm not going to draft any Red Sox. You're stupid. Don't do that. Don't play then. Don't play. You're going to eliminate teams from your player pool. You're making yourself unavailable of opportunities, and you shouldn't play. But here's the deal. So the Knicks win the cup and everybody is all happy, and I'm getting all the texts and everything like that. But at the same time, for 39 years in this world, as someone who, and I don't like to say this too much, kind of embarrassed, someone who roots for the Knicks, the Mets, the Jets, and the New York Islanders, I have never seen any of my teams win a championship. Okay, so the Knicks win the cup. I'm supposed to all of a sudden make like that's such a great accomplishment. You know what I actually would associate it with? I associate it with a college like Duke, a contender like Duke winning the Maui Invitational. Who gives a crap if Duke wins the Maui Invitational? They don't care. They want to win the NCAA title. The Knicks went to the Eastern Conference Finals. So everyone can stop acting like they just won something meaningful. Yeah, they get a banner. But really, do you really, if you're a fan of a team, do you want a banner of a non-real title at that point? I'm glad that everybody is into the cup. I'm into the cup. I'm absolutely into the cup. But the Devin Vassell bet getting hooked for the Spurs and the Knicks winning and the reaction of, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. Yeah, the Knicks looked good last year too, even when they weren't fighting for the cup title. And that's the thing. There's no direct correlation to you win the cup, you win the championship. No, there's not. I'm so glad that guys like Tyler Kolek got an extra $500,000 or got extra money to play in there to win. I love that very much. And again, as someone, yes, I'm happy that the Knicks, as a fan, something I rarely say, I'm happy they won the cup, but I'm starving for a championship from any of my four teams. And at the end of the season, and I wrote this on Twitter, at the end of the year, if I'm saying, oh, the Knicks, that sucks. They lost in the second round. They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals again. But at least they won the cup. No one's going to be saying that. Everybody's going to be saying how much of a disappointment it is. Now it's almost like you're going to be seeing people like, oh, the Knicks can win the championship. It's a long road ahead, and it's a way longer road to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. So things like that frustrate me just a little bit. Let me know how you feel about that. If your team won a cup or if your favorite college won the Maui Invitational, is that good enough for you? Even those that win bowl games. If it's not the national championship, unless you're actually there to enjoy it, do you even care? It doesn't even matter at the end of the day to your fanhood. Does that count as a title if it's not the national championship? Please let me know there. And it's good to see all of you. Fantasy Arnold, always great to see you. Greg, good morning to you. Love the logo, by the way, as someone who is now in the mid-Atlantic area there. So definitely on the Commander's side of things. Josh Hart is banned now. Well, yeah, Josh Hart has to be careful. Watch his hands just a little bit. Richard, good to see you. But yes, I am starving for an NBA championship. I'm starving for any of my teams so I can have that feeling of what it's like to win a championship. And that's not the cup. That's not good enough. So between that, I'm coming in hot. I'm coming in frustrated there. But at the end of the day, we move on. We got a couple of NBA games that I'm going to talk about. But first, let's talk a little bit of football, and let's talk about how you guys can get further involved with us here at fantasyguru.com. It is down to $50, our all-in NFL plan, 3-for-1, meaning season long for the remaining few weeks of the season. The playoffs, the few weeks of the playoffs there, you get it for playoffs too. Season long, DFS, and wagering. You get access to it all. The all-in NFL plan, support at fantasyguru.com or go to fantasyguru.com. As you know, this is a free stream. So with that plan, not only for the remaining 3 weeks, but also in the postseason too. And so with it being in the postseason, the game doesn't have to end. The game ends when you want it to end. And if you treat it like a 2-day-a-week job, then you're going to get those kind of results. But if you put the work in, even when you're on the can, even if you have a little bit of downtime, maybe you take public transportation, read the content on the site. Can't stress that enough. I know everything is about making videos, and a 1-minute video will summarize your entire life. Bullet points, TikTok, boom, 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 keep flipping. But at the end of the day, you'll learn something. The deep analysis that you get in those articles, the cash game breakdown, that's headline coming out every Friday by Jeff Mans. That is where we need to learn the little things. Also, I can speak on behalf of the NBA team with the way I'm writing my articles and everything. I try to put little tidbits in there. Normally, I'd look at a game, by the way, like Knicks Spurs, and I'd be like, I don't know. These two teams play really good defense, especially when Victor Wembanyama is on the court, slow pace. But you know what? I found that angle, and that just shows that we were on the right path. And while it didn't work out, the shot volume was there. The minutes were there. First half, it was looking like it was going to be done by then. But then second half, Devin Vassell went cold. And that was, at the end of the day, one of the worst beats I've had in the last few years. Just awful, just terrible. So with that, I just had to say that. Thank you very much for that. Fantasy Arnold's asking me about this too, and this is something that broke a little bit earlier here, is that Tua Tagovailoa, who's thrown the most interceptions in the league, he's actually being benched for Quinn Ewers. Wow. In that amazing, well, what should have been fantasy friendly, or what could still be fantasy friendly, Dolphins-Bengals games. But yeah, I mean, look, we can look at the Bengals here. And yeah, it's one of those things with Darren Waller. Make sure you check out Jeff Manns' rankings. It is something to take into consideration. This guy's thrown 5 passes, and that's it. So you have to know what you're walking into. And even though the Bengals defense, especially against tight end, very bad, like the worst in the league, at the same time, we have to remember that you kind of have a cold QB throwing the ball here versus at least Tua has been out there. And that's the difference in this situation. So for me right now, little bit of a downgrade, but you know what? That's to be expected with most of the options on Miami. The matchup itself and the game flow itself should still be pretty favorable, but I think at the end of the day, look, they're going to have to force the throw. We know that the Bengals can put up points, and it's just what we're seeing here with Miami. It's been a whirlwind of the season. Didn't know if McDaniel was going to be making it through the season or not at one point. It's been a whole mess of drama. Tua Tagovailoa, they're ready to clearly try to find a way to move on, take the organization in a different direction. I will say this, though, about the Miami Dolphins. Hats off to Devon Achane. Because Devon Achane, I'll just say, someone who just continuously comes through for fantasy, and even in my own auction, while you had a lot of those running backs that were being drafted where Achane was being drafted in snake drafts, going for about $40 to $50 at that point, he went, I'm pretty sure it's my guy here and our guy at fantasyguru.com, Sandro Anello, and only Sandro, the Sanzimi. He got him for about $23 and an amazing discounted price right there. And I think if I remember correctly, he told me he didn't even mean to do that. But that's just really great to see that he's been able to do this despite this wild situation. The quarterback rating for Tua has gone way down. He's thrown a ton of interceptions. Yes, did he lose Tyreek Hill? Yes, but at the same time, it's not like he doesn't have other options like Waddle to be able to turn to there. But it's really been somebody else that he threw to a lot to is Devon Achane, who we saw a lot of games in which he caught at least 4 passes this year. Also doing yeoman's work on the ground too. And Miami's in a situation where they have to throw a decent amount. So that's why, for me, Devon Achane, I salute him in that regard because I wasn't sure how I felt going in. A few people in a few different leagues got some nice discounts there, and Devon Achane has been gold. So Sid is asking about Bryce or J.J. McCarthy this week. I'll say this about J.J. McCarthy. All of a sudden in the last few weeks, and I didn't think that, yeah, it's Dallas, but I didn't think that he'd be as effective as he was against the Cowboys. So now over the last couple of weeks here, this guy's thrown 5 touchdowns to a pick. And now he gets another good matchup. And then he's going to have to throw a lot again when they face Detroit in week 17. But against the Giants here, I like this matchup for J.J. McCarthy. Just think of it like this. He's doing all of this, and Justin Jefferson is barely involved. Check this out. I was looking this up earlier. It's almost like a game at this point to see how much the average per week goes down for Justin Jefferson. So for the season in PPR, Jefferson's averaged about 11 fantasy points per game. Over the last 4 weeks, Justin Jefferson has averaged fewer than 5 fantasy points per week. In fact, if you look at everything, he's had over 20 points just one. He's had over 15 points just about 3 times, and that's it. That's it, 3-4 times. And that's it for Justin Jefferson. And I know a lot of you are wondering about Justin Jefferson, whether or not is now the time I bench him. If I'm saying to Sid that I'm liking J.J. McCarthy, and that's actually a Bryce Young versus J.J. McCarthy, a little bit tougher situation for me than I originally intended. But at the same time, if I'm going to put that confidence, and if any of you are in J.J. McCarthy, you got to have that confidence in Justin Jefferson. At some point, that explosiveness is coming back. That explosion of points is coming back. And that's what I'm wondering. And that's why when you have your studs, you're not going to bench them. You're just going to keep rolling them out there, and you just hope for the best and hopefully build up a good team around that one stud. That's why it's not always all about your first pick. because Justin Jefferson hasn't been coming through. Lamar Jackson, been a wild last couple of months for Lamar Jackson. Even count the entire season for Lamar Jackson. So that's why when it comes to this situation, for me, I'm liking this for J.J. McCarthy. We've now seen 2 weeks where he's playing better football. And so I'm willing to go right back in to J.J. McCarthy. So that's my answer right there for you. Let's talk about, though, some of the top totals going in here, because I'm very interested in some of these games. Sunday Night Football will be great. I'll give a little DFS where I'm looking at some values here. But really another game, it's almost like attacking the Cowboys is something that we all just want to be in and on already, especially after seeing what Minnesota did against them. So with the Chargers, someone that I'm definitely looking at this week, I'm interested, and I'm going to be looking at Justin Herbert right there, and I'm going to have him in a lineup. Now, with Justin Herbert and everything, I'm thinking that there are a lot of wheels up guys here. Is this a game where I think Justin Herbert could throw for another 200-plus yards? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. Multiple touchdowns, I think that there's a chance there. We saw it in the middle of the season consistently, but that's kind of faded away here. And Justin Herbert, he himself has been struggling. If you look at Justin Herbert here over the last month's worth of games, he's averaged about 12, 13 points. This is a good get-right spot against a very vulnerable Dallas defense. It's funny because the Chargers go from facing the Cowboys in Week 16 to the Texans. It's like polar opposite ends of the spectrum between Week 16 and Week 17. So Justin Herbert, I'm actually going to be in on. I feel like there are going to be a lot of people in on him for a bounce-back week, which a week we haven't seen since about Week 9. So we'll have to see with Justin Herbert. I'm thinking that he'll be able to hit that 200-yard mark, and he'll be able to hit some of his pass catchers there. You can even look at guys like Ladd McConkey, and looking at Ladd on what he's done over his last few weeks. And this is someone who, at the beginning of the season, after the first month, we were wondering what was going on with this guy. He was getting the targets, but wasn't getting into the end zone. And now we're right back there once again. The inconsistent up and down production. Middle of the season, you saw those two connecting. Hasn't been the case, though, since, it seems like, outside of maybe one game, but still, even against the Raiders of Week 13, just 39 yards, and that's it. So these are good spots right here, especially in your GPPs, to look at the Los Angeles Chargers. So that's kind of where I'm looking there. The Jacksonville and Denver matchup, this one scares me, especially from the Jaguars side, because with what Trevor Lawrence has done lately, and he has been outstanding over his last few matchups. He's been great since Week 12. 23-plus points fantasy. It's been great. But this isn't the Jets that he's facing. I know he scored about 55, and everyone's going to be like, wow, this guy has figured it out. Denver is going to make it tough. When he faced teams like Houston and the Chargers, wasn't very easy for him. But now he faces Denver, and Denver is going to keep that pressure on him. And that's where I get a little bit nervous about that for Trevor Lawrence. Look, you have him in seasonal at this point. You're going to be hoping for 18 to 20 points. You think he's going to be getting you 25 plus in this matchup. You got to lower your expectations just a little bit, because Trevor Lawrence has been playing very good football. He's thrown 12 touchdowns to 3 picks over his last 4 weeks. 12 touchdowns. He's looked great. He's running them in. But at the same time, Denver is a team that is going to really make him work for it, make it very tough for him. And so that's where I worry about going all in on the Jaguars. But you can think about it from a GPP mindset, is that, do you think that a lot of people, he'll be very popular, very highly owned? I don't know about that because of how hard the matchup is. Some might view it as a trap play, but at the same time, earlier in the year, we were wondering what was going on with Trevor Lawrence, and now it seems like he's figured it out, playing better football right there. So really, when it comes down to it from a DFS standpoint, J.J. McCarthy is someone that, yes, I'm liking and I'm going to go in on. Now, on the other side, will I go in on Bo Nix? Yeah, I'll have a lineup with Bo Nix in it. I will. I think that he'll be able to throw on Jacksonville, but I'm not going to go too crazy there because we all know with Bo Nix, another guy who's been very up and down over the last month and a half. So that's someone that I'm borderline on, but I'd be considering. Another guy I'd be considering here when it comes to DFS, and someone who just continues to get it done, continues to produce points right here. And this is a regular 20-plus fantasy points per week producer. And that's because the Arizona Cardinals have not relied on their run game in weeks because their run game is completely damaged. And it's to the point, no more Bam Knight, anything like that. Everybody is out, it seems like, for the most part. Jacoby Brissett being forced to throw, you're seeing him, despite, he'll throw a pick. But at the same time, if he's going to throw 2-3 touchdowns, then it kind of makes it a little bit better, makes the pick easier to deal with. He's going to throw for 250 to 300 yards, makes it easier to deal with. They got Atlanta this week. I'm totally cool with that matchup. I want to go in on that matchup in a lot of ways. From the Atlanta side, if there is a game to stack for DFS, I think Arizona-Atlanta is definitely that game, or at least one of the games to stack. I mean, beyond Brissett and everything, you could just go Brissett and then you could go the other side. That's the thing. But Brissett is somebody that, at the end of the day, nice value. He continues to show the consistency. He continues to throw a lot. He continues to throw him into the end zone. Harrison in, Harrison out. It hasn't really impacted his production too much. He's thrown multiple touchdown passes in all but 1 week since week 6. Since week 6. I'd be begging Lamar Jackson to get that kind of production, which we hadn't seen. But Jacoby Brissett, even against Houston, I mean, very impressive. Very impressive. Yeah, they lost the game. But throwing 3 touchdowns against one of the best defenses in football, absolutely amazing what we're seeing. That's because he's forced to just throw. They're not utilizing a ground attack. That's just not their thing. That's not what they're doing. So that's where Jacoby Brissett definitely comes in right there. Other guys that I'm into that we can talk about here, going to the New Orleans Saints here. Another guy, not on a great team, but at the same time still continues to produce, is Chris Olave. Chris Olave going up against the Jets. I like that matchup very much. He had a very good game against Carolina, and back, I think he's going to follow up with another pretty good game. 6 for 85 in the scores. He's going to repeat that? Not necessarily, but at the same time, I think he's going to come pretty close. I think we're good for 12 to 15 points right there from Chris Olave, as we've continued to see throughout most of the week. He gets heavy targets. That's the thing. Makes good plays, found the end zone in 2 of his last 3 weeks. So that's somebody else I'm liking from the DFS side too. So a little bit of football here. It's still early. We're still waiting. I'll have the injury report at fantasyguru.com a little bit later on in the week on Friday. I put it out. I updated on Saturday, and then I give one more final update on Sunday. Remember this week, and I'm sure we'll be reminding you on this stream to remember this, is that we've got some Saturday football action. So don't forget that. It's easy to forget in holiday time. You want to let loose. Maybe work's giving you off for a few weeks or whatnot. Maybe you're taking the final few weeks of vacation that you didn't take, but you don't want to lose it. So I actually know someone where I used to work that did that. Thought it was the funniest thing. But Saturday, we actually have 2 games. So remember to set your lineups. Put reminders in. We're not used to this. We got to get used to this. This is that time, because we got the Eagles and the Commanders, which I'm very excited about, because I got a nice big investment into Jalen Hurts, especially in my guillotine league. I got Hurts and Smith, something which, by the way, I suggest for you that play in chop leagues / guillotine leagues. Try to get a little bit of a hookup situation if you prioritize quarterback. If you're streaming every week, that's a different story. But if you, in the future, spend up for a Joe Burrow or a Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, try to get one of the receivers too, because double down on your big investment, because you're likely going to have to draft that quarterback, because in this particular one I'm in, it's 19 teams. So you really, if you're not drafting in the first round, the second round you must, or you're going to be stuck with a middle of the road quarterback, which is fine. You can get around that way playing the stream game, just like you can in season long. But that's one of the things I do in Guillotine. I try to get an ultra great running back, an ultra great quarterback, and a somewhat top 2 tier wide receiver. That's what I try to do. I try to spread it around. Few people go best player available. With me, I'm more focused because you just never know, and you're fighting against the league. I want a quarterback that's going to be able to get me a boatload of points himself. And that's why for the last few years in this particular league and in these kind of leagues, I've made sure to go after one of the quarterbacks in that top tier, being Jalen Hurts is one of them. But Hurts going up against the Commanders here, the Eagles should be able to take care of Washington. No more Jaden Daniels for the season. He is done. So he should be able to take care of Marcus Mariota and crew. This is the interesting one that I'm looking forward to. Packers-Bears, very good rivalry. It's been going around for decades. But at the same time, I'm interested to see what happens between these two teams with how good they've been. And with someone like a Caleb Williams, who over the last few weeks for Caleb Williams, we can look to see what he's done, because I know that there are a lot of you who drafted him as your starting quarterback. He's been another one that from a fantasy standpoint, up and down and up and down and all around. But from a reality standpoint, he continues to progress and he continues to look good. The hardest part about that situation is figuring out which of his pass catchers to trust on a given basis. So that's where I'm at when it comes to football. A little bit of a DFS preview. I'll have more, and then make sure you catch me and Russell Clay on Elite Sports Game Time, Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern on Fantasy Sports Radio. That's Sirius XM Channel 87. Let's talk a little bit about some betting strategies when it comes to NBA. And the reason why I'm spending this time talking about it right here, and you can continue asking your football questions, be happy to answer in the chat. But here's the thing with NBA, because football at one point is going to end. And then it's, okay, well, is it see you next football season? No. Join the Mafia. Join us at fantasyguru.com. And you could see how to get involved on this document. You can join us and you can catch all the basketball content we have. We still have many months to go. We got about 6.5 months to go of NBA. Join in. We've got betting. We've got DFS. We've got articles, and on those short slates, which we've had a lot of over the last few weeks, because with the NBA Cup being a thing, that's where we're at right now. Even on those short slate games, try to find something when it comes to betting. So you've got your bets in there. And even for DFS, 2 games, 3 games, we're not doing the full write-ups, but still building, still giving cores, still giving examples in our Discord, whether it's the DFS NBA Discord or NBA betting Discord. We've got those channels, and you will see those bets transposed onto the website. So let's talk about this, because I wanted to get to this a little bit more. I want to get to assists a little bit, because there's a lot that goes into NBA betting when it comes to assists. And the first thing that I check out, because you can look at a slate like tonight's NBA slate, just 2 games, but we've got some fast-paced action that's going to happen. The Bulls and the Cavs, for that matter, play at a very fast pace. And so with that, we want to take advantage of it. The Bulls also don't play good defense, something else that I want to take advantage of. So with that, there is assist possibility in this game. The next thing I do is naturally go to the NBA advanced stats, because there's an advanced stat on NBA.com at potential assists. That's really where I look. Now, I look for the full season to start, but we're at the point in the NBA season where we got to start shortening the search, narrowing it a little bit to see what's been going on, so we can possibly catch a trend. And that's one of the reasons how I figured out with the Knicks giving up threes and everything. Yeah, we saw it when you looked at the opponent's stats for the Knicks and for all the other teams. But some of these stats you have to dig. And with that, you have to look in the last 10 games. I look in the last 10 and I look in the last 5. If I see on someone's stat line, or if I see in someone's game-by-game log that all of a sudden they've gone from dishing 2 or 3 assists to 5 or 6, and we've now seen it 4 games in a row, the first thing I look for is if a guard is out on that team that's given more usage. But then the second thing I look for after that is making sure that we're seeing, and now those assist chances are there, and it's not someone's averaging 5 assists on 6 assist chances per game. Because assist chances, or rather potential assists, what they show you is they account for those passes to become shots, what would be assists, but then the player misses the shot. So because of that, let's say last night, Stephon Castle was passing to Devin Vassell a lot. Maybe he gets credit for 2 or 3 assists because Devin Vassell hit a couple of threes, but he took 7. So think about it. There were a lot of shots and a lot of setups that Castle gave Vassell that aren't accounted for in assist stats. So potential assists account for that. It just shows how many passes lead to shots. And next to it, too, on NBA.com, which is great, points created from it, too, because you want to trust that the player passing is going to be passing to someone that's in a good situation, getting a high percentage shot. So what's interesting is over the last 10 games, normally you see guards, but the leader over the last 10 games is Jaylen Johnson. Now, Trae Young, when he's eventually back, Trae Young is someone that we can look at as someone who's going to be getting a lot of assists, and that's probably going to go down. But with Trae Young still sidelined, that's where Jaylen Johnson, Dyson Daniels have gained that usage, and they've gained more access to the ball. And because of that, they now get more assist chances. So with the Hawks right here and looking at Trae Young, when he should be back very, very soon. So that number is probably going to go down. Does that mean you necessarily bet the under game 1 out? No, because what we see often is a player that comes back from long-term injuries, doesn't play. We saw it with Wemby, doesn't play full minutes the first game out. Want to make sure that they're okay. Even if they're playing with the G League and everything, want to make sure that they can hold up. So to think that someone like Trae Young right out of the box is going to get 35 minutes, I think that's too much. I'm thinking that first game is 25 minutes, and then we see where we go from there. So that is going to go down, and Trae Young being back is going to change just about everything on this team. For a while, I was looking at the Dyson Daniels rebound props once again. Trae Young being out of there too. Dyson Daniels started to see that go up a little bit. Kristaps Porzingis is 6, so him being out also has that direct correlation to Dyson Daniels. But hopefully these lines drop on some of these guys, and that's where we can start attacking guys like Jaylen Johnson again, because even when Trae Young is in, Jaylen Johnson's still going to be dishing a few assists. It's not going to be a lot of assist chances like we're seeing now. Right now, we're seeing over the last 10 games, he's averaging over 18 potential assists per game. 18. I mean, wow. That's amazing. And they play at a fast pace too. So that's in line. That's going to probably drop though. But somebody that is playing tonight is Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey over that time is averaging over 16 potential assists per game. And we know that Josh Giddey really stuffs up that stat sheet. So going up against Cleveland, so now I see the assists, and I'm just trying to walk you through how I look at bets, not necessarily for tonight, but so you all can do it yourself. You all can figure out how to connect the dots, how to find that edge, because that's what we do at fantasyguru.com, and I'm telling you about it right now. And I'll have bets up a little bit later on. I'll have DFS plays too. But looking at Josh Giddey and what we've seen from him, and I'm bringing up his game log just to make sure I'm not speaking falsehood or anything like that. Josh Giddey is someone who, while he has a lot of assist chances too, his teammates don't really help him as much because, look, I mean, the guy's averaging over 16 potential assists a week, but where's he cashing in here? Over the last 6-7 games, 5, 11, 5, 6, 11, and 6. That prop is going to be high because the potential assists and the algorithms are going to see that, and it's going to be high still. So what we then do is then we look at Cleveland. And I look at two things when it comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers, because I don't know what the deal is with Cleveland. I like Cleveland, but I don't think they're as deadly as last year. So looking at Cleveland very quickly on how many assists they give up, the Cleveland Cavaliers give up the 13th most assists to opponents, which, okay, screams to me there could be defensive issues there, could be in line with the pace. Both teams play very, very fast. And now what I do after that, after I see, okay, they give up a lot of assists, I don't stop there. What I then do is I then go to the opponent field goal percentage. Why do I do that? Because if a team is good at holding down a team's shooting, then someone who's got a very high assist prop, that's going to be dangerous to bet an over on. So looking at opponents' assists, or rather looking at field goal percentage for opponents, Cleveland ranks the number eighth lowest percentage, meaning they know how to hold teams down. They've got Jarrett Allen back now. So while you might be thinking, all aboard Josh Giddey here, the lack of consistency, the good defense holding down the field goal percentage, which means that they'll likely be missing a decent amount of those shots. Those shots will be lower percentage shots. High percentage shots are shots that player to the rim, no hands in the face. Low percentage shot, two bigger defenders come after they force up the shots, or what I call the J.R. Smith effect. So that's where Josh Giddey, we have to be careful of. But that doesn't mean we can't attack a Josh Giddey. Maybe what I'll do is I'll look at somebody else who dishes assists and see if we could get a lower number on that. I take a lot of lower numbers. I'm not at the point where I'm going to, because I will let you know if I see the odds significantly better on a book. I will write that book. It's not always the odds you get on FanDuel will be the same as DraftKings. I'll tell you right now, I think FanDuel is a little bit more generous, especially with parlaying for odds, and then DraftKings. DraftKings still good. DraftKings interface to me is better, but FanDuel, I think you get the better odds ultimately on NBA player props. I do a lot of player props because these lines are very, very close. I actually almost wrote up, ready for this, in the Cup final, I almost wrote up the Spurs last night because I thought, and it wasn't just drinking the Kool-Aid from the OKC game. I just thought that the Knicks giving up the threes and the Spurs having De'Aaron Fox, Castle, and Vassell, they were going to bury them. And luckily for the Knicks, Wemby wasn't at full strength, but also the Knicks were able to D up and take advantage and capitalize on San Antonio's mistakes. So the Knicks ended up winning, but for a decent amount of that game, I was kind of having a little bit of regrets for not writing up the Spurs. But that's why, again, for me to write up a bet, just know this. I'm not writing up bets just to check a box. I'm not a freaking box checker. Plenty of people are, just to get through their day. That's not me. That's not who I am. I care about every piece of content I write. I take it very seriously. I don't just end the day and that's it. And then the next day I check to see how I'm doing. No, I'm tracking this stuff all through the night and everything like that. Wife asking me, oh, what do we want to make for dinner this week? And I'm like, oh, chicken franchise. And I'm looking at the scores and I'm on tilt the entire time because I care. I want us to win. I want us to hit. And especially one of the things you'll learn about me is that I don't go away. I don't quit. I don't go and hide for a week if I'm having a bad week of NBA betting. It's the nature of the beast. It ain't easy. But at the same time, that is what we do. And when you ride with the Elite Mafia and you look below, right down at the bottom of this document, you could get involved. Try it out for a month. See how you do. Definitely see how you do. Between hockey and basketball betting, you can make that money back before that month is up. And then maybe you give it a shot for the season because we want more of you to not only join us and to get our picks, but also learn about the process too. It's all this, give me the picks and that's it. Nobody learns anything. But I'll tell you who does know things. I'm looking in our Discord at fantasyguru.com. And while we're missing bets, I'm getting messages. Great call, Fensty. Yeah, we got screwed last night, but it was a great call. The research was there. The points were there. We knew that we had something. And as soon as I checked the alt lines on FanDuel yesterday, I knew I had something right there. And it just didn't work out. He went ice cold. he missed every single shot. And he had a lot of shots in that second half. They didn't stop going to him. And then, by the way, with Devin Vassell, the bad shooting started impacting his play. He started to become visibly frustrated, committing fouls. That's when you know someone's tight. That's when you know that looseness is gone, because he was hitting everything almost in that first half, and he was taking the shots. And that's the thing. We're in the volume prediction business, and that we have the volume. Just not going to work out sometimes. But that's why we're in it again. We're in it tonight. Some of the guys I'm liking for tonight from the value side, I haven't decided who my core play is going to be between guys like Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards. I'm not, when it comes to this team, I'm just not too sure at this point who I'm going to trust. But at the end of the day, if Anthony Edwards ends up playing, that's a big decision to make. I'd almost rather him not play so we can focus on other guys like maybe a Julius Randle or whatnot. But Julius Randle has looked good. Memphis, it's not Jaren Jackson Jr. that I'm scared of. It's Zach Giddey, big body, big drink of water right there. Takes up the entire, with those freaking monster shoulders, takes up the entire paint. That scares me, and he's out tonight. So, Minnesota, where are we going right here? I'm all in on the front court. I'm looking at Julius Randle because let's not forget Memphis plays very quickly. So I'm all in and I'm looking at Julius Randle. This is if Anthony Edwards is out. He is questionable right now. I'm also in on someone who has been very good to us in DFS, and that's because of his scoring ability. Someone like a Naz Reid, who we've been seeing rebound more lately too. Naz Reid's very interesting because you saw earlier in the year, he wasn't really cutting to the basket. He was just kind of waiting at the arc, and I'm saying, dude, no, you're a tough guy. You can bulldoze down that lane. We know that. Stop trying to be fancy. Stop trying to stay at the arc. That's the problem with Anthony Edwards sometimes. Too much one-on-one, not a lot of movement can happen right there. So he's hanging there at the arc, waiting to see what Edwards does. Naz Reid has gotten a lot more aggressive, grabbing 7+ boards in 4 of his last 5 games. And while Memphis isn't the most vulnerable team on the glass, no Zach Giddey makes them vulnerable. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a good defender, face-up defender. But you get past him, you'll have the entire paint open to do whatever you want. No disrespect to Santi Aldama. So Naz Reid, the other thing about him, although he's not as cheap, we were getting him for below $6K for a while. He's $6,900, and on a 2-game slate, I'm fine with that price point. He's gone over it in at least hit value in 5 of his last 6 games, and value to me, 5x on the price, meaning a player costs $6,000. I want them to get 30 points for me to consider the play the win. The only time where I don't hold those rules, and I've started to kind of do this year because it's opened my mind up to more high-priced players. And when I say high price, top of the top, if a Nikola Jokic, if he doesn't get like 5x for a Naz Reid is very different via price than 5x for a Nikola Jokic. If a Nikola Jokic, if I find a way where I can still see him, okay, he could get to 4x in this price, we still want to take advantage of those points because you know a lot of people are just going to try to get him in every time he's on the slate. So there are some nights where even if he doesn't get the 5x, it's definitely still something that we can be victorious with if he gets 4x because he gets a hell of a lot of points. Now, Greg's saying right here, looking at this, the line on Naz Reid is 6.5 rebounds, but you see it's juiced up like this. So I'm glad he brought this up at minus 146 because I try to give props that are at max minus 140. I try because, look, I'm trying not to give any minus 180s. I try to stay away from the minus 150s. This right here, though, is interesting. This might be a situation where, okay, let's see if the odds go down a little bit. Let's see if for some reason Anthony Edwards plays. Let's see if maybe the odds drop just a little bit. But that's right on the line right there, Greg. I think it is possible because you have to think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be shadowing Julius Randle, who's very mobile the entire time. So Naz Reid should have a clearer lane to the basket. And here's something else to think about too. One of the things that I've noticed with Minnesota has no problem going away from Rudy Gobert in fast-paced situations. So that's another one where I'm looking at, where being that Minnesota's in a pace-up spot here and they're going to be running, I'm wondering if Reid will cut into Rudy Gobert's minutes a little bit more. But I am still, by the way, because of Zach Edey being out, I think Rudy Gobert, let's say he's given 6 minutes in the first quarter. I think he could do a lot of damage in that 6 minutes. So, Greg, do I think that he could go over the 6.5 rebounds? I think he can make it there with no Zach Edey. But yes, look, the odds are juiced up though. So I'm hoping that they go down just a little bit right there, or try odd shopping. Move to minus 132. There you go. But that's a good thing. Now it's better for you. See? That's what happens. The gods gave us a gift because they feel really, really bad for what happened to us last night. I still can't believe it. I've taken like 2 showers to get that filth from last night, that bet not hitting off of me, because and I don't start celebrating, by the way. I don't start, walking through Discord and start tweeting, I'm the best handicapper in the world. No, that's not me. I want to win because I want all of us to win. When you win, we win. That's how it goes at fantasyguru.com. When you hit your bet, I love that. Because at the end of the day, your investment into us paying off, that is what means the world to us. And that's why, by the way, I talk about something, and I'll bring it up for football one more time, our all-in plan being down to $50, because for the playoff contest strategy, you in a fantasy football playoff fantasy football league, I'm in two. And so with those contests, you could still be in the game. DFS still going on. Wagering still going on during that time for football. So join the plan, all-in NFL plan, 3 for $1, down to $50. Go to fantasyguru.com or email support@fantasyguru.com. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm sorry if I made you feel threatened. I'm sorry if I scared you. I know I'm a pretty scary guy. Just look at this face. Not exactly George Clooney over here. But at the same time, I was coming in with heat because I was just so shocked and disappointed about that Devin Vassell bet. But the research was there and it led us to the volume there. So that's at least something, but we don't hit it at the end of the day. Tonight's a different night. I'll have bets up there on the site a little bit later on. Yes, I post them in Discord, but then they get transposed onto the site. I'll have DFS plays too. The slate tonight does not begin until 8 p.m. Eastern. So I will be in Discord answering questions, helping you set your lineups from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. And by the way, a few of you have also asked me if you have season-long fantasy basketball questions, or what I call the famous 500 that still play season-long fantasy basketball, me included. You can always ask the questions in Discord, in the DFS chat. Just make sure I know it's a season-long league. And I have no problem answering questions. I love fantasy basketball. I love the NBA. I love sports. I love all of this, but all of this comes with heartache sometimes. And that's where we all stick together and we win together like an elite mafia should right here. Again, I'm laughing because of the Reid odds on the rebounds, but that's something we're seeing more rebounds for. And if you've caught previous episodes of Fantasy Sports Daily, then you can check out, and I'm on every Wednesday, my talks regarding potential rebounds and rebounding chances and how that correlates and how to find the best odds and the best lines for that. I've got you covered. I'll also have a new Fensty's Basketball Diaries podcast, your weekly NBA podcast that comes out only exclusive to Fantasy Guru subscribers, comes out every single Thursday. I talk about the state of the league. I talk about trendy teams, players, what's worked, what hasn't worked, lessons to be learned. We are here for you. I want to thank all of you for hanging out, talking a little football and basketball. Ray Flowers will be on with Jeff Manns on the Elite Sports Show, as he is every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Fantasy Sports Radio. I'll be back on Fantasy Sports Radio on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for Elite Sports Game Time with Russell Clay. And I'll also be, by the way, talking football on Sirius XM on Christmas Day at 9 a.m. Eastern. So I'll be getting you ready for Christmas games for football and basketball. But even though it's holidays, it's still business season here, business as usual, office is open. That is how we do it here at fantasyguru.com. Make sure you also catch the newest One Man's Opinion podcast, Jeff Manz's podcast, that'll be coming out, that comes out every single week too. So much content to look forward to. And we always want to make sure that you walk away from our streams, our shows, our content, learning at least something there. And that's why we're here for you right here. We're the place where winners win, fantasyguru.com. I'm Justin Fensterman. You can follow me at Fensty Sports, FENSTY Sports. Ray Flowers back on this stream tomorrow. Same time, same place, same channel, Fantasy Sports Daily on the Elite Plus Network, noon Eastern, powered by the good old FG, fantasyguru.com. Happy holidays, everybody.